Today's episode of The Real Deal with Damian Adams is brought to you by Dat Feelin Podcast. Now, we are all chasing that feeling of joy, that feeling of righteousness, that feeling that you just can't describe, right? And now your chase can be over if you subscribe to Dat Feelin Podcast. That's DATFEELIN apostrophe. Dat Feelin Podcast. You'll get all podcasts. It's not just one. It's a network full of podcasts that covers everything from wrestling, sports, politics, culture, everything. So go ahead and subscribe to Dat Feelin Podcast and stop chasing that feeling. If you are looking for a place to advertise your product, look no further than The Real Deal with Damian Adams podcast. If you have a serious inquiry about that, go ahead and email me at damian.adams98@gmail.com. That's DAMIAN.ADAMS98@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. This is real sports talk for the real sports fan. I definitely appreciate all you real sports fans who are listening right now. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you. And if you have a little bit of time, please help a brother out and give me that 5-star rating at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. That 5-star rating and review will definitely be appreciated. If you're listening on the 3-Point Conversion Station on Spreaker Radio, thank you. Please remember the 3-Point Conversion stations where fans' opinions matter. All right. So if you think the show is hot, say it loud. I think the show is hot and I'm proud. If you think the show can improve, don't say it as loudly, but please let me know. I need both your praises and your criticisms to be great at my job. Very excited about today's show. It's just me and you. It's an intimate session. Just me and you. Ooh. I don't know how you picked up on what I did right there with the vocals, but it was nice. I like that. But today I wanted to start with my man Drew Brees. Now, if it's your first time listening, I'm going to let you know that I'm originally from right outside of New Orleans, Louisiana. Big Saints fan, Pelicans fan, LSU Tigers. All Louisiana teams who I root for. So, of course, I was happy to see Drew Brees get the passing touchdown record, and that's for a career that he got that passing touchdown record for on Monday night against the Indianapolis Colts. Very happy for him. He seemed very excited. It meant a lot to him. Cool to see. And of course, whenever these things happen where you have records like that get broken, you start to think about, where does this person rank all time? And with Drew Brees, has always been he's great, but he's phenomenal, but man, he's done a lot, but for his whole career. You know, when he first came out of Purdue, he was great, but he's too short, which made him fall to the second round. When he was in San Diego, he's good, but it took him a few years to get started. And once he got to New Orleans, he's great, but he's doing it in the dome. Or he's great, but he hasn't done it on the road in the playoffs. All right. So we've seen that his height hasn't mattered, right? When you think about the strikes he had going against him coming out of college. We've seen that he was able to come back from the injury he suffered in San Diego and come back stronger than ever. We've seen that once he got with Sean Payton in that offense, he's been unstoppable. And when it comes to team success in the playoffs, we have to look at the whole picture. You can't just say, oh, Drew Brees has only won one road playoff game. The Saints, while Drew Brees has been quarterback, have only won one road playoff game. And in the Saints' history before Drew Brees got there, we won one total playoff game. Let's just think about that for off the bat. We had one playoff win in the history of the franchise. before Drew Brees got there. And now we have several. We've been Super Bowl contenders for a lot of years. And had one playoff victory before Sean Payton and Drew Brees got there. And now we're going to say, oh, he only has one on the road. And there were a lot of things outside of Drew Brees' control when it comes to him only having one Super Bowl ring or one road playoff victory. He should have won in San Francisco against Alex Smith, the Alex Smith-led San Francisco 49ers. But Alex Smith had one of the best games of his career. Our defense wasn't able to stop him, and he was able to hit Vernon Davis down the middle for a game-winning touchdown with seconds left in the game. I guess we blame that on Drew Brees, though. Drew Brees led the Saints on an epic comeback against the Minnesota Vikings during the divisional round 2 years ago. Had them in the lead with 10 seconds left in the game, and then a miracle happened. Marcus Williams, very good safety for the Saints, made one of the worst plays I've ever seen in my life, if not the worst. When he missed the tackle on Stephon Diggs, and Stephon Diggs was able to run to the end zone on a last-second Hail Mary. But we're going to blame that on Drew Brees and say Drew Brees didn't get a road playoff victory. Come on, man. And a lot of times when you play on the road in the playoffs, you're playing against very good to great teams. 2006, we lost to the Chicago Bears in Chicago in an NFC Championship game. They had an all-time great defense. Those things happen. But we're going to blame it on Drew Brees and say he doesn't do enough on the road when his numbers are actually not that much different. His completion percentage is 1 percentage down. Like, come on, man. Drew Brees has the record for passing yards, total passing touchdowns, and completion percentage for a career all at the same time. That doesn't happen by circumstance. That doesn't happen by luck. You have to play a very long time. You have to be consistent over that playing time, right? Because a lot of people say, oh, he just played a long time. Vinny Testaverde played a long time, too. You don't see his name in the record books nowhere. He was around forever. Mark Brunell was around forever, right? So you have quarterbacks who have been around for a very long time, but they weren't great for a very long time. So that what separates the Mannings, Bradys, Brees, Marinos, those guys who were able to play that long and be great for that long. It separates those guys from the rest. But with Drew Brees, there's always a but. And I don't get it. I don't. My man should be in the GOAT conversation. So when you look at his career compared to his peers, how can you not? So during Drew Brees' time in the league, he's led the league in passing yards 6 times. Completion percentage 6 times. That's including this year. Touchdown passes 4 times. Yards per game 6 times. QBR 2 times. And only led the league in interceptions once. So when you look at those stats and compare it to his peers, there's no way he shouldn't be in the GOAT conversation. Tom Brady, who is widely regarded as the GOAT. And a lot of that's because he has 6 Super Bowl rings, which again is a team accomplishment. I want to give a big shout out to the Sports Reporter Without Pay on Facebook. Go ahead, follow his page. He made a great point about Tom Brady, where he said if if Vinatieri misses a couple of kicks, we look at Tom Brady totally differently when he would have done the same thing in those Super Bowls to win. But I digress. So Tom Brady, during his career, has led the league in passing yards 3 times, touchdowns 4 times, completion percentage once, compared to what I just told you about Drew Brees. That's what they can control, right? I understand that Drew Brees may be in a more pass-happy system. In some of the years, he had to pass just to keep us in the game. But again, that's because the Saints didn't provide Drew Brees with good defenses. Didn't provide him with the talent around him to win. A lot of years where Drew Brees was putting up these historic numbers, the team might have been going 7-9. That's not on Drew. When you have the 32nd ranked defense, and not just the worst defense in the league that year, but some of the worst defenses of all time Drew has had to play with. But again, we blame it on Drew Brees for not having enough of a winning resume. Like, it's a joke, man. Peyton Manning, the great Peyton Manning, who I consider the GOAT, led the league in passing yards 3 times, touchdowns 3 times, completion percentage 2 times, yards per game 2 times. Now, he has 5 MVPs, but he also got to play with Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Emmanuel Sanders, Demaryius Thomas. Like, his weapons were crazy. But we blame it on Drew. Peyton Manning got carried and dragged to his second Super Bowl victory. But over time, I guess we're just going to forget that and be like, Peyton Manning got 2 Super Bowls. But he got dragged to the second one. Like, literally was not a shell of himself at that point. Let's look at another peer. Big Ben. Ben Roethlisberger has more Super Bowl rings than Drew Brees. Is he better than Drew Brees? No. He's led the league in passing yards twice, never in touchdowns, and has led the league in interceptions twice. Never led the league in completion percentage. But Ben Roethlisberger, in some people's eyes, would be rated above Drew Brees because he played outside. Come on. Phillip Rivers. I like Phillip Rivers a lot. Led the league in passing yards 1 time. Completion percentage 1 time. Interceptions twice. And has had nowhere near the playoff success, of Drew Brees. Brett Favre, if you want to go back to a different era. Led the league in yards twice. Interceptions 3 times. Completion percentage 1 time. And we all know he has the all-time record for interceptions. But people rate him above Drew Brees because he played outside? Because he was playing with a childlike enthusiasm? Come on, man. Dan Marino, somebody who I have in my top 5. He led the league in yards 5 times, touchdowns 3 times, never led the league in completion percentage. So he was never the most efficient quarterback in the league. And I'm not going to bring up these specific yards when it comes to Brett Favre and Dan Marino because those guys played in an era where it was less passing yards. It was harder to pass the ball downfield. So I understand that. But when you compare them against their peers, Drew Brees during his time, where everybody had the same advantages, played better or had better stats than his peers. And a lot of people say, well, with Tom Brady, you got to talk about the playoffs. Drew Brees has a better completion percentage and touchdown to interception ratio in the playoffs than Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Roethlisberger, Rivers, Favre, and Marino. That's a better completion percentage and TD to interception ratio than all those guys I named that are going to be in the Hall of Fame, if not already. This man deserves more respect. Put some respect on his name. And like I said, there's people who say, oh, he played inside or he was in the offense where they passed the ball a lot. Because a lot of those years they had to. Like last year, we didn't have to pass the ball that much. He threw for less than 4,000 yards, but still was very efficient. So even in the years where you may not ask him to get 5,000 yards, he's still going to put up phenomenal numbers just because of his efficiency. This year, he missed some time, so his yards aren't going to be up there. Drew Brees deserves to be in the GOAT conversation. So for my top 5 personally, I have Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Montana because of what he did in the playoffs, and Dan Marino. I think that's a pretty solid top 5. Very solid top 5. But definitely put some respect on my man's name in the GOAT conversation. But right now I'm going to move on. We're going to take our first music break and be right back. Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Hopefully you enjoyed that music break. That was the late, great Aretha Franklin with Respect. R.E.S.P.E.C.T. Put it on Drew Brees' name, all right? So now it's time for me to get a little more serious. A little more... I hate to get serious, but sometimes you have to, man. And some people might consider this old news. I haven't been able to talk to you guys in a couple of weeks. But there was a big controversy over Michael Vick. And I can't believe I'm talking about this in 2019, going into 2020. But it was about Michael Vick and his dogfighting conviction, which happened back in 2007. So Michael Vick was named an honorary captain for the Pro Bowl, coming up at the end of this season. And people were outraged. And there was a petition put up on change.org, which got over 560,000 signatures to try to facilitate the removal of Michael Vick as the honorary Pro Bowl captain. Now, if you're not familiar, for a little history on Michael Vick, he was a number 1 overall pick by the Atlanta Falcons out of Virginia Tech in 2001. And sat for a while during his rookie year. But once he got in, pretty much electrified the league. With his great athleticism, I think that you can make a great argument for Michael Vick being the most I woke up like this talented ever in NFL history. Like, I woke up out of bed and I run a 4.2. I can throw the ball 75 yards with just a flick of the wrist. My agility and quickness is nuts. Just his talent level was crazy. And because of that talent level, he was able to sign a huge contract with Atlanta. And that all went down the drain when he got convicted of dogfighting. And it wasn't just that he was, participating in dog fighting. He financed the whole operation. Of course, it wasn't going to be the people who were running it to finance it. He was the one making the money. And he wasn't convicted of it, but a lot of people believe he was participating in the killing of the dogs who were no longer good to fight. And when you read the details of the case, it is very gruesome. When you think about what happened to the dogs. Some dogs were drowned. There was one dog they say was killed just by repeatedly being slammed to the ground. That's definitely a hard way to go for anybody, animal, person, whatever. And also dogs were hung. And a lot of dogs that survived were, taken into shelter, and documentaries were made about the dogs that survived and how tough it was for them to adjust to being treated normal and things like that. Horrible. Michael Vick made more than a mistake. He made a horrible decision to participate in this and to be a part of it. And he definitely paid the price. A lot of people, when it's their first offense when it comes to something like this, usually get hard probation, house arrest. Michael Vick got 18 months in prison, so he paid more than the normal price for what he did. Missed 2 years of his NFL career. Lots of money gone. And not only when he got out did he come out remorseful, he stood on the front lines for animal rights. He was at meetings lobbying for animal rights, cruelty laws to be passed in Pennsylvania. He has donated money to animal rights charities. He's someone who has truly made a total 180 when it comes to how he views animals and how he wants others to view animals. I believe after 12 years, more than 12, like he got convicted in 2007. So he was going through the process even before that. So it's been more than 12 years since he committed this heinous crime. It's time to forgive Michael Vick. It's been time, like way past due. And people are like, well, we forgive him, but you shouldn't celebrate him. You know how many people who have made mistakes get celebrated? Everybody who's ever been celebrated. No one's perfect. We've all made mistakes. Now, some mistakes may be bigger than others, right? But mistakes nonetheless. If we held ourselves to the standards in which we hold others, the world would be a perfect place. So I believe that's a bar. I'm going to say it one more time. If we held ourselves to the standards in which we hold others, the world would be a perfect place. We need to stop being so righteous when it comes to people. Michael Vick has done more than enough to make up for his mistakes. And for people to still be holding on to what he did more than 12 years ago is just crazy. He has done so much to say, okay, animal rights is important. It does matter. And we have people who have killed human beings who spend less time in jail. And no one blinks an eye. Now, I'm not saying what he did should be looked at as less than. It was cruel. But again, it wasn't human beings. Dante Stallworth got drunk, driving, killed a human being, missed a little time on the field, driver's license was suspended, no one was protesting him. And we all know how big a problem drunk driving is in this country. Now, I understand the love for dogs. I do. I have family members, friends, people who I love who love dogs. I'm not a dog lover, but I'm also not a dog hater. Like, if you have dogs, cool. but I'm not going to be the one volunteering to babysit your dog. Like, I had roommates with dogs. I grew fond of the dog. I mean, the dog is still cool to this day, right? And whenever a dog see me, gets excited. I used to take the dog on walks and everything. So, like I said, I'm not a dog lover, but not a dog hater. I like people for some reason. And sometimes I question that because people do suck at times. A lot of the times. And this is one of those instances where people suck because you're not giving this man a chance, to show his redemption story. He's a great example to the young players in the league now. So you pick him as an honorary captain, and he gets to talk to these players and tell them what to avoid and what not to do. That shouldn't be taken away from him because of something he did over 12 years ago. I just want people to hold themselves to the same standards they hold others to. And then maybe they'll realize those standards are unfair, are not reachable. But that's all I got to say about Michael Vick today, man. So we're going to take our next music break and be right back.
Six figure. Young Gunners, Chris and Neve. That's right. Yeah. It's official State P representatives. Can't stop, won't stop, Rockefeller Records, cause we get down, baby, we get down, baby. Girls, they love us, cause we stay fresh to death, we the best, nothing less. They don't make us the breakers when they make up the break up. See the Jacob, fix they little makeup. That's them Young Gunners, Chris and Lil Neefy. Wishing they was the one, but Chris got Lil Kiki. Home base, yeah, I'm cool back there. Keep your mouth shut, we might do that there. Yup, it's only right, let the whole block stare. Hopped out the bed with the blowing white ears. Say move, nigga, let's go and get left, yo. Mommy feeling my big ass, yo, my whole neck glow. Say I'm young, but I can sex, though. Now could it be, I'm the one, ladies check for. Yes, ho, got grown woman, my mama age. Fuck me all kind of ways, I can swallow everything. Way before them ramen days, no, it ain't about the age. It's all in the screw. Bitches thought I was a joke, till they got me in my pajamas. Hey, can't stop, won't stop, Rockefeller Records, cause we get down, baby. We get down, baby. Girls, they love us, cause we stay fresh to death, we the best, nothing less. Can't stop, won't stop, Rockefeller Records, we get down, baby, we get down. Girls, they love us, cause we stay fresh to death, we the best, nothing less.
It's only right, we don't feed them no cash, we ain't flee them and pass them. When we see them, we pass them. Yup, I know they hate cause we seeing that cash and seeing right past them. I don't wanna assassin them. No, don't make me the bad one and negotiate when a man with the badge come. You know the rules when a nigga was yapping, ain't no rapping. When we see him, we clap him, plastic bag him, then we find in the ditch. Toss the magnum, then we find in this bitch. Take a step over the shit we left over. Now I gotta go and tell my niggas what happened. Niggas better believe we the youngest in charge. Ain't taking a deal, man, I run with a charge. Chris and Neve, we running this rap shit. Stay property popping any one of you bastards.
Can't stop, won't stop, Rockefeller Records, cause we get down, baby, we get down, baby. Girls, they love us, cause we stay fresh to death, we the best, nothing less. Can't stop, won't stop, Rockefeller Records, cause we get down, baby, we get down. Girls, they love us, cause we stay fresh to death, we the best, nothing less. Let's see the Young Gunner, all the girlies wanna see the Young Gunner. Once they see the rock aware, little bit of juice, plus I treat them like I care. Safe home base, I just treat them like a spare. You know I stay with a beautiful little thing, and that to me is neat, abusing that little thing. Look, you better tuck your girl if she hot, fam, cause I'm pretty sure she a rock fan. Mommy, do you want us or him? Ain't no I in the team, fuck with me, fuck with them. Got the ride for my dogs, that's the game, baby girl. Ain't no shame, keep it clean, keep an eye on my dogs. You know, never brag, never blab what you saw. Let the motherfuckers know you just as fast on the draw. Let them know you need some cash for the draws. Keep the shit between us so they be blasting us all. Can't stop, won't stop, Rockefeller Records, cause we get down, baby, we get down, baby. Girls, they love us, cause we stay fresh to death, we the best, nothing less. Can't stop, won't stop, Rockefeller Records, cause we get down, baby, we get down. Girls, they love us, cause we stay fresh to death, we the best, nothing less.
Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. That was a throwback classic right there. Can't Stop, Won't Stop by Young Gunz. So we are back now. And I want to talk about my 5 big takeaways from week 15. What were some of the things that I saw that I considered major? First thing, number 1. The Tennessee Titans are really good. Yes, they lost to Houston 24-21, but they could have easily won that game. You think about the fact that they were right there about to score when Tannehill hits a wide receiver right in stride, perfectly going to the end zone. He gets hit by the linebacker, ball pops out, goes into another linebacker's hands, and he's able to take off for 86 yards to set up Houston for an easy touchdown. Tannehill early in the game was throwing some really good passes where wide receivers either just dropping them or mistiming them to where they were like jumping wrong and the ball would go past them, things like that. Tennessee's defense is good, but Deshaun Watson, with his ability to create something out of nothing, was able to do more than a normal quarterback could against them. But I do think they're a good team. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs because Pittsburgh's ahead of them, and Tennessee has the Saints this week. Pittsburgh is going against, let me find them on the schedule here, the Jets. So just a little lack of luck when it comes to the schedule for Tennessee to get the Saints in week 16 when they're fighting for a playoff spot, and the team that's right ahead of you gets the Jets. Right? So I think Tennessee's a playoff quality team that just won't make the playoffs this year. I wish we could replace the NFC East champion with Tennessee. I wish that was something that we could do. But of course, that would be very far-fetched. But I still stand on my original statement about how division winners should not get automatic home playoff games. So that's going to be my second takeaway. Dallas looked good against the Rams, right? And Philadelphia was able to pull out one against Washington. Both teams are 7-7 going into a showdown this week. A team that looks just as good as them that's getting back to 500 is Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay 7-7. Jameis Winston's playing well. Their defense is starting to gel. And yet, they're out. They have no chance of making the playoffs. But because the NFC East is trash, both Philadelphia and Dallas are fighting for a home playoff game, let alone just a playoff spot. A home playoff game. And somehow that's supposed to be cool because they won their division. The purpose of the regular season is to get the best 6 teams from each conference. Dallas isn't one of the best 6. Dallas or Philadelphia isn't one of the best 6 teams in the NFC. And people have said, well, people with lesser records can win. Yes, of course. There's any given Sunday as football. That can happen. But the purpose of the regular season is to show that you qualify as a playoff team. Because if not, you're just going to go by, well, any team could win. Let's just let the Dolphins in the playoffs then. If just because we could see them beating anybody on any given Sunday, that makes no sense. So go by your consistency or lack of consistency when it comes to the regular season to qualify for the playoffs. Not just, well, we're in the garbage division. Even though we're going to be 8-8, we're going to get in. That's trash. Super trash. And I will stick to that. People have given me a lot of pushback on that take because of tradition. Because if you win your division, it should mean something. Yeah, you still get the pride of winning your division. If divisions didn't matter as far as they do now, as a Saints fan, I still would love to rub it in the face of Atlanta fans that we have won the NFC South back to back to back. If you have rivals, it's still going to matter. Now, the difference is the Saints are 11-3. So if divisions didn't matter, they would still be in the competition for the top seed and still be one of the top six teams going into the playoffs. That's the difference. Dallas and Philly would not. But I digress. So my next takeaway, Jameis Winston might get a big contract. I was just talking about how Tampa Bay has climbed back to 500. If they were in the NFC East, which Tampa Bay is the East, they could have easily been there. They could easily be in the playoff conversation and maybe be dangerous. Because with Jameis, you don't know if you're going to get that 450-yard game, which he was the first quarterback to do in back-to-back weeks. With him, you could get 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, or you could get 4 picks and 2 touchdowns. You don't know. And he's on pace to where he can lead the league in yards, touchdowns, and interceptions. Hasn't been done since Drew Brees, I believe, in 2012. Now, Drew Brees, when he led the league in interceptions, it was only 19 that he threw. My man Jameis is on a different level when it comes to these interceptions and turnovers, period. And that's something that needs to stop. It's not going to completely stop. At this point, he is who he is, but somehow it needs to improve. You know, even Brett Favre for a few years was able to improve that. And when he did, he won MVP trophies. So I'm not saying that Jameis Winston is as good as Brett Favre. Don't, Packer fans, Brett Favre fans, don't lose your mind. But Jameis does have that gunslinger mentality. You are going to have some Brett Favre elements in Jameis Winston's game. If you can find a coach like Brett Favre did to hone that in and get the best out of him, you can. Bruce Arians looks like he can be that coach. I do believe Bruce Arians is a good coach. I think that if you give Jameis Winston a few more years, or I would say you franchise tag him for next year, he has to show some improvement in the turnover department. If he does that, then give him the contract. But right now, I wouldn't give him a big contract, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the average starting quarterback salary for a contract. Wouldn't be surprised. He definitely doesn't deserve to be in the highest paid conversation. Hopefully that doesn't happen. It doesn't get like he was the right man at the right time, so now he's highest paid. I hate that. Like, people who we know aren't the best becoming the highest paid just because their contract was up at the right time. That needs to stop. But with Jameis, he definitely is in the middle of the pack when it comes to quarterbacks and deserves to be, if he's going to get a long-term contract, be in that same kind of Ryan Tannehill range when it comes to his contract. Takeaway number 4, Buffalo. Buffalo is a true contender. Some people may not believe that, may not want to believe that, but Buffalo with that defense, special teams, with Josh Allen playing better and not turning the ball over, if he's not going to lose the game for you, you have a shot at being successful. And he has the talent there with his arm and his mobile ability to make plays and to sometimes win games for you. And if the game is close, Buffalo will always have a shot, man. And they can keep games close with that defense. So I see no reason why, if Buffalo made some noise in the playoffs, we should be shocked. We shouldn't be shocked at all if they do. So congratulations to them for winning 10 games for the first time since 1999. Man. What were we all doing in 99? I was in, I believe, 3rd grade. 99. Like, that's a long time, man. Takeaway number 5. Michael Thomas can't guard Mike. Michael Thomas, wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints, is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Should not be an argument. My man has 133 catches through 15 games. 133 catches through 15 games. The next closest guy on the list is DeAndre Hopkins at 99. He has over 40 more catches than DeAndre Hopkins. Just think about that. He also leads the league in yards with 1,552. So he's getting you over 100 yards per game. 1,552. And excuse me, I added a game to it. It's 14 games. We still got 2 games left. So through 14 games, he's got 1,552 yards. Nuts. Just absolutely, positively nuts. The next closest guy is Chris Godwin from Tampa Bay with 1,353. Come on, man. Come on. And he's tied for third in touchdowns with 8. Now, there's going to be some people who say Julio Jones. Julio Jones is a genetic freak, right? To be that tall, that big, that fast is amazing. And somehow he doesn't get in the end zone. Still. Even, last year, the second half of last year, he had a better year getting to the touchdown, getting into the end zone. That's a notch or a knock against him. Got to put that in the record. As amazing as Julio is, got to get touchdowns. Michael Thomas doesn't have the most touchdowns, but he does get in there occasionally. You got to do it. DeAndre Hopkins, he's great, but his productivity is nowhere near Michael Thomas's. And a lot of people would say, well, Michael Thomas isn't that good if he doesn't have Drew Brees throwing the ball. Well, he put up the same numbers with Teddy Bridgewater throwing the ball this year. So that theory's out the window. Even when you put Taysom Hill back there, Michael Thomas is still very dangerous. So at this point, I don't think there's a real argument against him being the best guy in the league. On pace to break the record for receptions in a year. And this isn't one of those years where Drew Brees has to throw the ball all over the field all the time because the defense is horrible. We've had, that San Francisco game was one of those games like that, but for the most part, the defense has been good. Give my man Michael Thomas his respect. R.E.S.P.E.C.T. All right? So those were my 5 takeaways from Week 15. When we come back, I'm going to do my Week 16 predictions. We'll be right back.
Put y'all up on something, man. Yo, when you see something ill, you know what I mean? That shit is woke. Anything ill you see is woke. Nigga have a big 6 at the curb, that's woke. Okay. Especially if he got the fully equipped kid on it, it's woke. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, I had this bad bitch uptown, she was woke. Had me fucked up in the head, I mean. Bought the bitch diamonds and pearls, I mean. Should've seen them shit shining on the wrist. Now money ain't a problem, see my dough is like pulled out my bankroll on y'all niggas like lost the boot strip from 210th like faggot wanna beat my blueprints, I'm like had to hit the brakes on y'all niggas like niggas getting both on my block like coming home within a half an hour like front like they had the manpower like more or less, more so I rip guitar so I live the fast life, come through in the park slow like my nigga, like dough, like dro, nitro, my flow, nice clothes, like East Bay with cocaine, like whoa. Now I'm Doc Strange in the range, like whoa. 100 miles an hour switching lanes, like whoa. Plus I'm getting brain from this chick, like whoa. Finger near nigga asshole, like whoa. Team floors, bitches and bitches, like whoa. 9-9 Jag Benz coupe, like whoa. Keep them cheese lines on your blocks, like whoa. Grenade through your window, bitch, like whoa. Love to see me do this shit, like whoa. Niggas put me through this shit, like whoa. So I'ma go toe to toe, blow for blow, like whoa. And rip guitar soul, live the fast life. Come through in the ball slow, like whoa. My niggas, like dough, like dro, nitro, my flow, nice clothes, like whoa. We back it, then flip it like whoa. Cars we jack it, then strip it like whoa. Fully equipment, front to back like whoa. Spitting on fiends that come for crack like whoa. Asking for shorts and shit, nigga, like whoa. Half on his cloak, now nigga, that's whoa. Flow so properly, you'll see I'm whoa. Ain't no stopping me, I'm deep like whoa. Guns be popping, beat, we creep like whoa. Hear my name in these streets, it's like whoa. Must I pound the concrete like whoa. Fill his bitch ass, head to feet like whoa. Your man ain't whoa. The judge ain't whoa. COs ain't whoa. POs ain't whoa. Play yourself, I get the G.I. Joe. DIC, K-Riders ain't whoa. I rip guitar soul, live the fast life. Come through in the ball slow like whoa. My niggas, like dough, nitro, my flow, nice clothes, like oh. Niggas getting money in VA is whoa. Honey's looking right in ATL is whoa. Niggas flipping hoes in Chi-Town is whoa. Bitches taking paper in LA is whoa. Niggas stacking dough in DC is whoa. Beyond hold me down like whoa. Ballers in Detroit hold me down like whoa. Niggas in New Orleans getting money is whoa. Boston and Jersey motherfuckers is whoa. Florida niggas and Philly niggas is whoa. Tampa and Texas, Cleveland is whoa. Memphis and Little Rock, my niggas is whoa. Panama niggas, they hold me down like whoa. Our New York peoples, they hold me down like whoa. Bad boy nigga, where is born, we roll. Alumni bitches, where is born, we roll. And CSC, all fuckers is whoa. My nigga fuck out, where is born, he roll. That's just how the story go. Whoever I forgot on this shit is whoa. Oh man, with this whole H3, like sorry, BTPR, nigga. The beat I got from Big Buck Wild is whoa. That nigga slap on the mic, whoa. My whole fucking flow on.
Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Hopefully you enjoyed that music break. That was Black Rob with Whoa. This podcast is Whoa, right? So now it's time for us to do my Week 16 predictions. We have 3 games on Saturday. 3 good games on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to it. First game we have is Tampa Bay versus Houston. I'm going with the upset. I think that Tampa Bay will beat Houston 28-27 in this one. Tampa Bay's playing well. Understand that Mike Evans is out. They're going through some injuries right now, but Jameis Winston's playing out of his mind. The Houston defense isn't the best. Tennessee was able to move up and down the field on them, and just wasn't able to finish drives. Tampa Bay, I believe, will be able to finish those drives, even if Jameis gets a couple turnovers. And Jameis is, right now playing for that contract, so I think that he'll ball in this one. Tampa Bay will go to 8-7. Houston will fall down, but they'll get up, as they'll be able to stay in the division lead, because I think Tennessee's going to lose this weekend as well. For the next matchup, we got Buffalo, New England. This is in Buffalo. Last game that they met, New England barely won. They won by a punt, a blocked punt. That was the difference in the game. I got Buffalo beating New England this time. Buffalo's playing better. New England's offense is sputtering all over the place. I got Buffalo winning 13-10. So that could be considered 2 upsets right there. Tampa Bay and Buffalo winning on Saturday. For the next Saturday matchup, we got San Francisco versus the Rams. The Rams are barely holding on to their playoff hopes, and they're going to be playing desperate. San Francisco, coming off of losing to Atlanta, is not going to want that to happen again. They definitely need to hold on to this victory to have a chance to win a division and also get that top seed. So it's a big game for them, because right now they're in a position where they have to go to either Philly or Dallas if the season ended today. They can change that by winning. I think that San Francisco does win this game 20-13. So now let's move on to the Sunday matchups. All right, Giants, Washington. Not going to spend too much time on it. I got Giants winning 24-20. Atlanta, Jacksonville. Not going to spend too much time on it. Atlanta winning 17-14. Baltimore, Cleveland. Interesting. Cleveland's trash, but Cleveland did beat Baltimore earlier this year, right? Now, Baltimore has seemed to find their everything, their rhythm. Like, they're just got it going on right now. They're the best team in the league. Did Cleveland have something last game, or did Baltimore just not find their rhythm yet? We'll see. I think Baltimore wins 30-13. For the next matchup, we got Pittsburgh at the Jets. Pittsburgh will win. Le'Veon Bell should be looking to have a big game if he's playing. And Pittsburgh will win, staying in that number 6 spot in the playoffs. Colts versus Carolina. I got Colts winning 28-27. Miami, Cincinnati, the Toilet Bowl game. I got Miami winning 24-21. For Saints, Tennessee. At Tennessee, I got the Saints winning 28-17. Denver, Detroit. Denver winning 20-16. Chargers, Oakland. 24-17. And it's going to be the Las Vegas Raiders soon. That's crazy. The Dallas Philly, the big showdown for the NFC East crown. I got Dallas winning 28-27. For Seattle versus Arizona, I got Seattle winning 27-14. Kansas City, Chicago, I got Kansas City winning 28-17. Chicago has nothing else to play for now, except pride. He might show up. And Minnesota, Green Bay, big matchup. As a Saints fan, I need Minnesota to win so that Green Bay can get pushed down. Saints can get right back into that top seed conversation. I got Minnesota winning 24-21 in that one. So we'll see, man. Those are my NFL Week 16 predictions. We're going to take our last music break, and we come back in the show with my forgotten player.
And I'm ripping in the sky.
Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Hopefully you enjoyed that music break. That was A Ribbon in the Sky by Stevie Wonder. Classic record right there. And the reason I played that song, I got to give a big shout out to Bomani Jones. His podcast, The Right Time, Bomani Jones. He's somebody who I look up to in this industry as far as sports talk, and someone who I hope to be as good as one day. He was talking about how there are certain things and certain people who are black famous, and how that song, Ribbon in the Sky, is black famous, and white people don't know about it. And for me, I was like, whoa, really? Ribbon in the Sky is a song that white people don't know about? And I just want to do my small part. You know, if there's a few white people out there listening to the show, appreciate you. Hopefully you enjoyed that record. Now you know about Ribbon in the Sky. I damn near cried just now when that song was playing. That shit is beautiful. But I just had to play that real quick. So big shout out to Bomani Jones. If you're not checking him out, man, The Right Time, Bomani Jones. Free plug, because he's dope like that. So I'll give him that free plug. Hopefully he gives me a free plug one day when I'm at that level. So now it's time for me to do my Forgotten Player. Forgotten Player is where we pay homage to a player who may have been good but not great, great but not recognized, or a player who you may have just forgotten about, who we want to remind you of. My Forgotten Player today is Andre Rison. Yes, the wide receiver, was the 22nd overall pick in the 1989 draft by the Colts. The 6'1" receiver played 13 seasons in the NFL, having his most success in his time early in his career, right? So when you look at Andre Rison's career, starting off with the Colts, sorry, my stats are coming up a little slow here, but starting off with the Colts, then he went to Atlanta, and that's where he had his most success as an individual in Atlanta, making the Pro Bowl 4 times, being an All-Pro while there as well. During his career, he had over 5 seasons where he had over 1,000 yards receiving. Someone who was very consistent, but was more known for his inconsistencies off the field, like getting his house burned down by Left Eye. Rest in peace. And that overshadows how good he truly was during his career. You don't get to 4 Pro Bowls and voted an All-Pro while being garbage. It doesn't happen. So a big shout out to Andre Rison for his great career and being my Forgotten Player today. I want to thank everybody for rocking with me, listening to the show, being patient with me. If you are a supporter of the show and you've been waiting for a podcast, I truly do apologize for the pauses and lags in content. But you always can subscribe to The Real Deal with Damian Adams YouTube channel, being more consistent with dropping videos and IGTV videos, things like that, to make sure the content stays steady. The podcast, I will try my best to be more consistent with. I just want to make sure that I bring you a good show, and it takes time to put together an hour show or to get a good guest, and those things take time. But I definitely have plans for the end of the year to do some bonus episodes and things of that nature, so stay tuned. Make sure you follow me at The Real Deal WDA on all platforms. And until next time, go real or go home.